Hello everybody and welcome to Sin City Living. My name is Jason. I'll be bringing you today's episode. As always, please hit the like and subscribe buttons. We have a ton of content coming out for you guys every single week. We don't want you to miss a thing. Our usual shout out of appreciation to our patrons. All those tips and support are highly appreciated. It's only going to go towards making the channel better. We're hoping to add a lot more games to the channel, such as roulette, video keno, video poker, carnival games, things along those lines. We just want to do it right, which is going to be very expensive, so it's going to take some time. You could help us out if you wanted to. If not, no big deal. We appreciate you guys just tuning in, but if you're curious about it, go ahead and check the description down below this video on the patronage. And for our patrons, we do hope you are appreciating those patron-only exclusive videos we're putting out for you guys every single week. If you have anything you'd like to see, just email us on the site. We're more than happy to film it for you. As for the rest of you, please continue tuning in. We have, like I said, a ton of content coming out. And if you have any suggestions, questions, strategies, anything related to craps, baccarat, blackjack, pai gow, casinos, Vegas in general, just go ahead and shoot us an email at sincityliving@gmail.com. We absolutely love to shoot these videos for you guys. It is our favorite thing to do. That being said, I'm going to go ahead and jump into today's video. So for today's video, what we want to talk about is a question that was asked to us by some of our viewers. We've done plenty of videos, at least with craps. I haven't done one with blackjack yet, on some of the player habits that drive dealers bonkers, that dealers just don't like. So we've had some questions on, well, what are some of the player habits that other players don't like, that pisses off other players? And while I can think of a few off the top of my head for blackjack, I'm going to leave that one for Amy. I will start with some of the dice ones that just drive other players nuts. The biggest one is things that we talk about in the other videos: slowing the game down. The string bets, the stroking bets, the waiting until the dice are just getting ready to move. Those slow the game down, and it really irritates the other players. One habit that is, I'm not going to say super common, but a habit that I would say 1 in 20 players have, is to hold their bet in their hand. They actually have their chips in their hand, and they are looking at the dice that are in the center of the table. This is the time to bet, and they are holding the chips in their hand because to them, in their mind, the best time to bet is when the shooter is touching the dice. That's when they dart their hand in real fast and try and put. They seem to think that that is either, you know, better luck, or that's the cool time to bet, to look like they really know what they're doing and fire it in there. And that, oh God, does that tick off the other players, especially the shooter. Get tons of complaints all the time about that, because they'll typically do it in the field, which is a self-service betting area, so it's a gray area on what we can correct them on or not. But that really, really, really irritates the players. On the shooter side, what will really irritate the players are the ones that go through this big, long ritual and take 30 seconds to shoot the dice, because they got to sit there and they got to sit there and flick them against the wall 30 times until they get exactly what they want. And then they got to rub their hand on the table a few times. And then they got to move the dice around each other, or stack them on top of each other, and then roll them over, and then flip them twice, and then stack them again, and then push it out, and then snatch it up. And it's just this big, long, look at me, attention whore ritual, and that the other players are rolling their eyes at this point. And especially if they then finish it off by shaking the dice, like you just set the dice and now you're shaking them, like it just doesn't make any sense. So that really irritates the players, because most of the players, the experienced players, they want the game flowing. They already know what their next set of bets are going to be, or what their next set of presses are. They want to get to it. They don't want to watch someone put on this whole grandstanding show. They want the damn rolls to start happening. Another one, loud, obnoxious drunks. If you're a loud, obnoxious drunk, you're really going to irritate the other players. You may think you're being funny and being amusing or being cool, and hey, let's get more energy here, guys. No. Come on, more energy, more energy. You know, hey, blow all my dice for me, or hey, let's bet this, or hey, good job, yeah. And you see a lot of players that they're like, okay, yeah, give it a high five, but they're like, just leave me alone. Let's just play the damn game. Like, right. Shut up. Because what those people don't seem to understand is that the most of the players that are playing they're grown adults, and they've been grown adults for quite some time. And they don't really appreciate people that drink like little children. Most people don't become big, loud, obnoxious, stupid drunks when they drink. They know how to drink responsibly, they know how to drink like grown adults, and it irritates them to be surrounded by a bunch of people that drink like teenagers. And that's unfortunately a sad fact of what happens here in Vegas, is that Vegas gets what is basically rookie night, where people that don't drink every day or every week to half a dozen drinks on their normal time come to Vegas, and it's rookie night. I'm not a professional drinker, but I'm going to start pounding them.
And it's really annoying from a dealer's standpoint as well, because instead of just dealing your game, you've got to end up being a babysitter, and I don't get paid enough for that.
Yeah, babysitters do get paid more than us hourly. Yeah, absolutely. In fact, that's actually a very, very common phrase that is used both amongst dealers and amongst floors, is babysitting. Especially right now in the pandemic with this whole mask thing. That is 100% babysitting.
Oh, yeah.
Another thing that really irritates other players, buying into the middle of the roll. Especially buying in when the shooter has the dice. That irritates everybody, including the dealers. If you throw your money down on the table while the shooter's got the dice, that just really, really ticks off the shooter and every other player. And if a 7-out comes, they're all going to hate your guts.
And any experienced player is not going to do something like that. So that just screams, hey, I have no idea what I'm doing. So unless you want to look like an absolute jackass noob, I wouldn't suggest doing that.
Absolutely. Because and as we've said before, the dealers don't really have a problem with players that buy into the middle of the roll. We understand it. You're more than welcome to play at any time, just like buying into the middle of a shoe. I mean, you're more than welcome to buy in if you're going to play. Now, if you buy in the middle of a roll and then put your checks on the rail and wait for the next shooter, then you're a D-bag, because there was absolutely no reason to have bought in at that point, and that's going to irritate not just the players, but it's going to irritate the dealers as well.
It's just attention-seeking behavior at that point.
And as she brought up, I hadn't thought of this one yet, but the super cocky people. We get so many people that come up to, especially in craps, that act like they are pros at craps and know everything about craps, and then we don't even get 3 rolls into it, and it becomes very, very obvious that that person is a child that has absolutely no idea how to play craps. And I can actually give a perfect example of that. So the other day, we had a player that they kept late betting, and we warned them a few times, and hey, don't get your bets in a little bit earlier. So then after a couple of warnings, next time they did a late bet, they went to throw their bet in. Before they could even finish speaking,
no bet.
3 different voices were all screaming no bet. And they got a little huffy, and then after the dice landed and we moved them back to the center, the dealer was like, hey man, just so you know, when the dice are in the middle, this is the time to bet. But before the dealer could even finish the sentence, the player's like, I know, I'm not new, I know, yeah, I know. And then went, let me get a $2 horn high yo. And we looked at him, and I was on the other side of the table, but I looked at that and went, yeah, really knows what he's doing, doesn't he? Because it's the no bet, because that's a $5 minimum bet. Clearly, you are new, though you're trying to act like you're not.
Just using buzzwords that mean something, but I don't think that word means what you think it means.
But it's so he got followed up with 3 voices going, no bet. And now he's confused because the dice are in the middle, and he's not new, he knows what he's doing, and we're like, that's not a legal bet. That's a $5 minimum bet. You're betting 4 numbers and high on one of them. So those are some of the things that really irritate other players. Obviously, some of them also irritate the dealers, but those are things that really, really, really annoy the other dealer or other players on the table. Just like if you have to get corrected multiple times on something, like say you're over on your odds. I actually had this one the other day too. Player was over on his odds, so we tried to explain it to him, and then we just went ahead and fixed it for him and placed the remainder. And then after he threw the dice, because he was a shooter, then he put more money on top of his odds, so we once again fixed it, put the rest on the place bet. Then he threw the dice, then he did it again, and 3 other players at the table started yelling at him like, dude, figure it out. You're over on your odds. You're slowing the game down. You're slowing yourself down by keep doing something. They have to keep fixing.
Right.
Like, pay attention. Like, it really irritated the other players, and it became noticeable, and the players started complaining. You know, so those are some of the big ones for dice. For blackjack, you know, there's a few. You know, hitting when the book would say not to. Now, the thing is, that doesn't affect the odds. It really, really doesn't. What card you draw has no bearing on the next card, on the odds of the next card and what it's going to be. And there's been a lot of studies on that. With, you know, filmed live games and stuff like that, to show that it makes absolutely no bearing on the win-loss percentage. Your odds are still going to be the same no matter what. But
good luck convincing
right.
the crusty old-timers that that's not going to ruin everything.
And it is going to irritate the other players.
Also, splitting tens. That's extremely irritating, because that's about as rookie move as it gets. So. Absolutely,
and that's something the other players at the table, they want to be sitting with people that know how to play.
Mm-hmm. Or doubling down on something you shouldn't, like a hard 12 or a hard 13, or in a recent table I was standing floor watching, doubling on anything between 12 and 16. Hard 12 to 16.
Yeah, that's gonna annoy the other players, for sure.
Yeah, because then we have to call it out, and then the pit boss is going to be watching, because that's a really stupid thing to do. So word to the wise, if we ever have to announce what you're doing on the table, don't do it. It's not a good idea. It's not something that's likely
Smart.
to work out in your favor. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Another thing that's going to annoy other players is, as we're talking about, you know, just being loud, annoying, obnoxious drunks, spilling drinks. If you're one of those people that has to always hold your drink in your hand, you lean over the craps table with it, you're waving it around while you're talking, you've got it in your hand on the rail while you're talking to people, so it's slightly tipping and all that, that's going to irritate the other players, and it's definitely going to irritate the crew, but it's very much going to irritate the other players too, especially because if you spill so much as a single drop on the table, the dice just stop. The game just came to a dead stop.
Yeah.
Well, we got to clean it up. If you spill your entire drink on the table, there's a solid chance that not only is the game completely going to stop, but that table's going to close. So you could be in the middle of a roll, and guess what, guys? You're going to go to another table. So it's going to be a little bit to finish this roll. We have to recreate all your bets over there, and you know, this roll is done on this table. That will tick off the other players. Whew.
I didn't notice they actually closed the whole table.
I've had a drink spilled on the table and we just stopped it and cleaned it up, but it's really going to depend on the drink. I mean, if a strawberry daiquiri hits the table, an entire strawberry daiquiri hits the table, most likely we're going to have to close the table. You know, that was like a vodka Sprite or something like that, and it was clear for one, and something we could. But then there's this huge wet spot on the end of the table that, you know, and the dice were at a dead stop, middle of the roll. The dice, there wasn't another roll for a good 5-6 minutes. And here's what's even worse. That person wasn't even playing.
Wow. How did that happen?
They were they just come up to the table or getting ready. They wanted to buy in. They were talking to their buddies, and they were drunk. And I tried to, you know, start to push them back a few times because, again, drinks waving around. Tried to tell them to keep their drink back while still running the rest of the table. And yeah, they just bumped into the table and down it went.
We had an entire tall, I don't know what the big tall beer glasses are called.
I mean, not the half yards or anything like that. But
No.
Just like a pint glass or...
Like the big, like a Pilsner glass kind of thing.
It's probably a pint or liter glass.
And that went into the rack.
Oh yeah, now you gotta clean all the chips.
Mm-hmm. So that game stopped for about 25 minutes. Because if they get wet and any moisture gets trapped in between the chips, it's going to be like glue. You're not going to pry them apart.
Yeah, it's always fun.
So.
What about any of the other games? Bach. I know when the couple times I've played Bach at the tables where they could touch the cards, even though it didn't really affect the game, it just bugged me to watch people fold the cards. But again, as a dealer, maybe that's why it bugged me, and a player, maybe it wouldn't bug them so much. But
let's see.
What about roulette? Or some of
Don't
the players
sit at the very end of the roulette table knowing that all the numbers that you want to bet are in the first 12, the first section of the table, and then ask the person who's also placing bets near the wheelhead to place all your bets for you.
Or hand you your bets.
Yeah.
Yes, that actually would apply also in craps. Don't stand right next to the dealer if you're a field bettor. Don't stand right next to the stick if you're a DC bettor.
So, let's see, baccarat. If somebody is with their card, writing down, keeping track of things, do not rush that person while they're trying to figure out what their bet's going to be. That's a good way to start a fight. Let's see, Pai-Gow, there's not really much of anything. Blackjack or anything with side bets. Don't change a 5 every single freaking hand. Put $4 on the side bet and 1 on top. And need to change a $5 chip every single time. That slows the game down and really irritates everybody that want to just play.
Yep.
I'm not saying don't play side bets, but I'm just saying plan ahead. Change $10, $15, $20 in singles if you know that you're going to be betting quite a few, or $5 or more every single time.
Yeah, keep track of your ones. If you're down to your last 4 and you've got a $10 bet or $15 bet and you win, before the dealer even pays you, you can say, can you pay me with some ones? Because they're already coming out to pay you. No big deal, doesn't slow things down, but maybe 1/10 of a second as we have to grab a couple extra chips. That's it.
Yeah.
Versus taking all your red and saying I need change. Which also goes into craps. Don't color up in the middle of a roll, partially, and don't color up and then change it. The dealers will manage your money. If you've got too many red, they will start giving you green. All right, don't sit there and constantly ask to be paid in green when you've got $45 in red because you want your red to last, or you think you're going to stuff the greens in your pocket, because trust me, you won't. They're going to come right back out. Don't every time you've got $150 hand over your green, let me get a black so you can stuff it in your pocket. Color up at the end of your roll. If you are unable to be that disciplined with your money to be able to do that, then you're not going to be that any more disciplined just because you have them in your pocket. Trust me, the people that do that give back their money 99% of the time. Let me get a green, and then 2 rolls later, I need change. And the dealers will start mocking you for that. Like, oh, you want me to change the one that you just asked for 2 rolls ago that we tried to give you in red? Okay, I'm just making sure. Here you go. Here's your red. And that's going to irritate the players because, again, you're slowing the game down and you're calling attention to yourself.
Right.
Just like being a loud drunk and stuff like that. You got to remember that most people don't like attention whores, and they definitely don't want their attention drawn to other players around them. That's never a good thing. It's never a good thing.
Right.
With the exception of like low-cut dresses and stuff like that. That draws attention, and there's not too many people that complain about that.
Right.
But if your behavior is drawing attention to you, that's not good. Some of these people think they look cool by doing that. They don't.
No.
Do you have anything else? Anything
No,
else
not
that
really.
really irritates the players? Okay, now keep in mind that a lot of these things in general only really irritate the experienced players.
Right.
New players, they don't know enough to care. And the experienced players, by the way, they don't mind newbies. Asking questions, there's nothing wrong with that.
No.
Nothing wrong at all.
We don't mind that
Most
one
of the
bit.
players don't
Yeah.
at all.
They would rather have you playing what they deem the correct way than just bumbling around and just doing what you feel. But one more thing. Don't constantly complain that you haven't seen a cocktail waitress in 10 minutes. I mean, it irritates everybody. And don't just sit there snapping your fingers or yelling cocktails. Because again, that draws attention to you for the wrong reasons. And it's likely to make the cocktail waitress take even longer to come back to your table.
Which is going to tick off the rest of the players at your table.
So,
So I hope this answers the question. And anything else spring to mind?
no,
Okay.
that's what I got.
Then, again, hope we answered the question for you guys. Hope you guys find it interesting, illuminating, enlightening, just plain fun. We will catch you guys next time. Bye now.
Bye.